Hey. Hey. Okay.
We partying this week, so we felt like that would be a fitting song for the episode this week of.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us at 2FAST2FEMININE, our Instagram live series. So today, what we're going to be talking about is double standards. Now, if you are new, welcome. And if you are returning, thanks for coming back. So before we get into all that, we want to give you guys an introduction of who we are. All right? So we're going to let Miss Thang over there start.
Woo! Okay, so I am Miss T. I am 38 and I'm currently in Dallas. I am a divorcee, a boy mom, a big personality for you guys who don't know me personally, but you will come and see I'm a big personality. And a fun fact about me is I'm a wine tea girl. So that simply means I love my wine and I love my tea. Hey, that's me.
All right, thanks for that. So I'm Chevelle, if you don't know me already. I'm 28 years old. I currently live in Virginia. Let's see. I'm a divorcee as well. And also let me see. I want to give you guys something interesting. I just got out the Navy. I was active duty. And a fun fact about me is I love to sing.
Okay.
So that's just a little bit about us at this moment. So what we're going to do next is we're going to get into the topic. But we want you to know that throughout these videos, you'll get to know us more and more. So today, what we actually want to talk about, like I said, is double standards. So let's see, double standards, it affects men and women. And so today we want to focus on a few that we thought that, really kind of meant a lot to us. The whole purpose of our live cast is to actually have a place where women can come and also men at the same time and have it like it be like you talking to your girlfriend. The idea came from us wanting to feel like, let's bring what we do in our normal life to you guys. So me and my sister, we talk almost every day. And so what we wanted to do is have it where you guys can kind of see what we're talking about. Because we thought that these things that we talk about actually will be good for you guys to hear. So we hope that you like it, and we always want to know what it is that you guys feel that you want us to talk about. So the first thing, sis, can we talk about workplace?
Yes.
Workplace double standards. Now, there's so many different things as being a woman that I feel like we always have to think about, especially at work. It's different things that we have to deal with. So for me, one of the things that I always deal with or I think about is let's see, leadership for women in the workplace in regards to men. Sometimes go ahead.
I was just going to say that's an interesting topic because when you think about leadership, the dynamics are different. If you are a woman in leadership, the struggle is a bit harder than that of a man. When we look at, what it takes to become a leader in the workplace, I think that in itself sets us apart from what it takes for a man to become a leader in the workplace and how those are viewed. So I want us to really elaborate on that. First being when it comes to our attitude. I feel like we have to be very aggressive in order for people to take us seriously. And sometimes that aggression, people like to see that in a negative way. But when I say aggression, we have to be determined. We can't be playful where a man could come in and he could be like, oh, hey, Jimmy Joe. Oh, yeah, you see that game yesterday? That was some kind of thing. And everybody is still in respect them or anything else. But we let our hair down one time. We let loose one time and we joke and we laugh. And now it's almost like people get comfortable and they lose that respect for the authority that we hold. And so I hate that standard exists. But also even like when we're putting in place like discipline. When we are dealing with people and trying to get them to understand who we are, if we are in any way, form, or fashion blunt, or if we are matter of fact, now we got an attitude. Oh, she nasty. She got an attitude. Yeah, she mad. But a man does that same thing, and it commands the respect. So why do we think that exists? Why do women have to work so hard to get the respect and leadership versus what men have to do?
You're right. And sometimes I really think about that because being in the Navy and like moving up the ranks, you recognize. So in a male dominated field, I would say as the military, and that's just in corporate America, that's in so many different avenues in jobs in general, being a woman and recognizing that this is kind of the norm. So seeing it in a place where you feel as though men are more so the forefront, to see a woman in leadership in those avenues is a big deal. But then you hear so many men, I feel like, talking, saying different things, and they always feel like saying, excuse my language, but like she's a bitch, or even bringing up things in regards to being a woman and feeling like, well, maybe we might act a certain way, or we can't lead because we have periods and we're emotional and all these things, instead of feeling like they're accepting the fact that we are different, that we can man those roles, and also feeling like we have to work so hard to be heard, especially in a room where it's so male dominated, and feeling like they will not even take what you're saying as something serious. You can say one thing and a man could maybe possibly say the same thing, and it's taken well received more than it would be if it was coming from you. Just showing like the disrespect in that avenue and not feeling like what you're saying is really being heard.
Right. And I think along those same lines, we got a few comments from Miss Brie Lala, thank you, about colorism, racism, and misogyny. And that misogynistic attitude is a really big one, I think, no matter who you are as a woman, that, unfortunately we face in the workplace, corporate America, the Navy, whatever the case may be. Yes, snap, snap. So keeping that in mind, we do have a lot of barriers that we have to overcome. And then I think just as women, sometimes men look at us as inferior anyway. So being in a power of position, they don't respect that we could be on the same level, as they could anyway when it comes to the workplace. And so I think that is an excellent point. Shouts out again, for the comments, you guys, about recognizing those different barriers. I mean, even if it's a Black woman, in a leadership role versus, that of a Black man, or a Black woman versus the white woman. Unfortunately, there are those different dynamics that still exist. And we have to work 10 times harder just to gain the respect, whether it be from our subordinates, whether it be from our peers or our superiors. And it sucks. It so sucks. Eden Couture says some men even have to say women aren't strong enough to lead them. And that is a sad but valid point. Some men
Definitely.
Some men just won't accept that a woman can lead them. And I think when we look at that may be from something that's stemming way further than just the workplace. I mean, if you look at how dynamically the roles have changed, So I think that is one aspect. Another thing I think we have to deal with is family life in the workplace.
Yeah,
if you are in leadership and a man is in leadership and family comes into dynamic or comes into play, I think that's another thing that just does not resonate well across the role. A woman may say, hey, I got to leave. My baby got a game at 5 o'clock, or my baby's sick. And, unfortunately, we've all encountered this, oh, she got to leave. She got to go be with them kids again. But if a man, says this very same thing, oh, guys, I got to go. My kid has got, violin practice at 5 p.m. I can't miss it. All right, no problem, Joe. No problem, Bobby. No problem, Derek. No problem, Deshaun, whoever the case may be. Go ahead, and it's received differently. So what is the problem with that? Why do we see that?
Well, Brie Lala on here says we are taught to silence ourselves and stop being bossy. And I think it's understanding the fact that if I'm in that role, that is my job. That is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think a lot of times it's just not seeing them. I think the real thing is not being seen as an equal. in regards to being intelligent or what it is that we feel like we bring to the table. Because men have created a lot, but also women have created a lot. And I think you cannot have one without the other.
That's right.
And sometimes, you know, those are things that we have to think about. And for me, I also have noticed, you know, in regards to family life, being in the Navy, you know, I've seen different things. So I was actually in 8 years. And just seeing, so in the Navy, you have a sea and shore rotation, right? So you're supposed to be out to sea for a certain amount of time. Once you finish up that whatever, a lot of time for whatever your job is, then you go to shore duty. And so a lot of times women were frowned upon for having children during those times in which they're supposed to be out to sea. So I understood the aspect on the mission and the mission form of what's going on when you join the Navy and now they need things to do it, to have people out there and what affects the job and when you leave. But I've recognized, you know, because I had to really change my way of thinking in regards to that, because in there I positioned how I felt that I wanted to have a child, or what I felt would be best for me. But what I recognized is that it's only God's timing. And so sometimes you can plan, and so now I go to shore duty. I try to have a baby, right? So for me, I had 3 years on shore duty. So what happens during that 3 years if I do not get pregnant? Now, you know, that could have been happening to me and my husband or my partner or whoever could have been trying, and I didn't get pregnant. And so I think sometimes they don't consider the fact that you can do everything and you can plan, but things are not set up that way. And I understand that it's different, but it's taken into account that our bodies and we go through different things in having a child. And I think sometimes we more so penalized than it being seen as something good. Or when a man has a child, it's kind of celebrated and it's okay because they feel like it doesn't kind of change the work dynamic, but for us it does. But it's like, well, when can we? When can we have a child? When can we have a family and still be, you know, career oriented, you know, and feel like we want to have a professional life and not feel like, you know, we want to limit or feel like we can't have it all, in a sense.
Well, that goes back to Eden Couture's comment, who said, you know, women are looked at as not prioritizing their careers when they put their family as a priority first. And then shouts out to Miss Brie Lala again, who says, how dare you get pregnant? You're being lazy. You know, at this point, also, we see that, you know, oh, and someone said, thank you for your service. I think Sherelle Gaston, I'm sorry, you guys, I'm trying to keep up with you. So thank you guys for your support. But when we look at that, all jokes aside, it is a different viewpoint when we talk about incorporating family life into a woman's life and balancing that with a career and the sacrifices that she has to make, be it, you know, military life, be it corporate life, whatever the case or means may be. There is a stark contrast in how it is accepted when it comes to men and women, and that's terrible. You know, another one I think, if we talk about on the same lines, is workplace romance. You know, when we get to the point when we start thinking about a man who may, you know, have a relationship with somebody at his job versus a woman who has a relationship at their job, and the outcomes that may or may not be impacted as a result of that. For instance, if a man is a CEO and he sleeps with his secretary and then makes her his wife, it's not much talk about it. It's, oh, well, she got to where she is, you know, he got to where he is on his own merit, and, you know, she's just a bonus. But if we turn the table and a woman has any type of relationship with a man and she makes any type of progress, whether it was influenced from that relationship or not, it is automatically deemed that she slept her way to the top. And it is a disgusting double standard that should not exist in no workplace, but unfortunately it does. And it's looked upon differently. You know, for some men, they celebrate that, oh man, he got the bad wife, yeah, she's that. But then we go over here and we look at the woman who may have this relationship, and it's, how dare you be unprofessional and deal with your subordinate? How dare you deal? You know, why is it such the case that we are not looked at equally? We got weak. We fell into a relationship. We fell in love instead of, now I done slept my way to the top because I made CEO, you know, and it just so happened I had a relationship with somebody in interim of that versus the man who may do the very same thing, and it may not even be any conversation about it at all.
Definitely.
So
for me, and I will relay back to the military because you guys, that's what I've done for the last 8 years. So I've watched how
double
things play in
standards.
that. And so for me, I've always prided myself on really trying not to date where I work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, like being in the military, especially like in the Navy, there are times where these people that you work with, you
Wait a
live with
minute.
them. What happened?
Someone said at this point, double standards so sad. Shouts out to RM 1906. And Eden Couture said, it is so sad because there are really men who sleep their way to the top or buy their way to the top, which is so true, unfortunately.
Definitely.
But no one ever talks about that. So go ahead. You're right.
So for me, like these people that you try to go home, so I've always tried to separate what I do in work, my work life, and my personal life, right? But it's hard when you're in an atmosphere in which these people, you live with them. So that does not mean that your days stop when work is over. This is a 24-hour. I see you. Once we get off work, like we live in these confined spaces, even like going out to sea and going on deployments, these are people that you deal with on a constant basis. And so, I mean, it just makes sense that sometimes people really actually date, right? And so it's hard in that, in that avenue where these are people. And so when you try to go out, it's different, right? And then for me, also, it's hard because you want to find somebody that matches your energy. They're on the same level as you, And so sometimes it's hard because you might end up liking somebody who might be higher up in leadership. And sometimes it really is frowned upon, but I think it happens in corporate America. I think it happens in so many other jobs because sometimes you run into things where it's kind of like you like who you like, but then it's like you don't want to be labeled or made it feel like you getting special treatment or anything like that instead of your work actually being seen to be your work. And like you said, a lot of times they do, try to say it's because you may have been dealing with these people on a personal level that means that you got promotions or things like that. And sometimes it can actually stop you from getting a promotion because sometimes they worried about maybe how it looks. And so I think in those situations, it becomes really hard when your personal and professional life is so intertwined. It's really hard in order to find somebody. These are the people that you're kind of around. And so sometimes it just happens that way that you may end up dating them.
I agree. I agree about the not playing where I get my pay. I keep where I eat and where I sleep very separate. But I think you're right when you think in terms of spending time with people so much. And then the next thing you know, you've developed this relationship because you guys do have this understanding. You've grown for this mutual interest, and therefore you guys have kind of grown. Now, along those same lines, though, I will say that again, even with all that being said, there still is that difference that I think sometimes we as people attribute to. We have to, I think, at some point start making these double standards that the gap, smaller. At what point do we start, making changes to these standards? Because I guess when I think of like these standards that exist in the workplace, are they necessary? Are they a necessary evil? Will they always exist? Or do you think that there are things that we could actually do to, make a change?
I mean, honestly, I think there are things that we can do and things that they can put into place. But honestly, sometimes I think, especially in roles in which leadership and other people, because things become so personal and it becomes from your own mindset, what it is that you think, that sometimes those people in those roles have more of effect. So they change the climate of the actual workplace, even if you have people who might disagree or think that they're unfair. I think a lot of things need to be changed. I think it does happen over time, and I think we have to be at a point where we are willing to change and not just accept the fact that these things are happening. But sometimes it's kind of hard to feel like, will it actually change? I think right now, but I have seen in the time in which I have been working in the military, it's beautiful when I do see, women leading and I do see people in different positions. And it's sad that sometimes you still have to have people say like, oh, this is the first woman. This is the first woman in this actual job. You know, this is the first woman who's ever done this. Sometimes it's like you feel like maybe we're further than what we really are. And then it's those things that become an eye-opening experience that let you know we're not as far as we could be.
Not only is the first woman or the first Black woman or the first Hispanic woman, it is sad that we are still making distinctions on race about accomplishments that are, you know, assigned to people. You know, so I think you're right in that, whether it be, you know, the leadership double standards regarding our attitudes, you know, regarding, you know, our family and the prioritization of that, or workplace romance. I think there's a lot of work left to be done, but for sure, we know it's a double standard. You
Definitely,
know.
and it needs to be done, and maybe we are the ones who have to start changing. I think when you start having conversations, you know, I always tell people it's when you have conversations like these, the small conversations that become big conversations that you branch out and you talk to different people. Those are the avenues in which change begins to happen. I think sometimes people wait and think that it has to be on a larger scale, but I think it's when you start opening people's minds and eyes and really start to talk about and discuss these things. Because I think sometimes people are not even aware, especially being a woman. Sometimes men may not see the little things that they do, because sometimes things become they become a pattern so much that you don't even recognize that you're doing it. And sometimes you are actually contributing to these things and these double standards. So if that is you out there, don't do it.
And someone said that this often happens because a man feels threatened, because there are so many qualified women that exist today. And it's so true. We breaking the barriers 100%.
Definitely.
Most times when you look at it, women have completely surpassed men when it comes to qualifications, when it comes to pay, and all of these things. So I think that comment is very relevant, that there may be this intimidation that now exists as a result of us transitioning in our role from just being homemakers to now, you know, venturing out to being secular earners, you know. And so someone else said that male leaders make their accomplishments based on a subordinate, and that male leaders don't even know how to do their job, you know. And I will say that not just even the male, females too. Sometimes the accolades of your subordinates is what makes you look so great as a leader. And I think whether it's men or women that can exist, but I will say that we as women, we do, and shouts out to Eden Couture for that. Women do work harder. I think we have to. I don't think it's just our work ethic. I think we have to work harder because the expectations of us are greater than that of the good old boy club, getting those attaboys. So along those lines, breathing into our second double standard, relationships, and the reactions from things that take place in a relationship. For instance, let's just kick it off right here.
Go ahead.
The reaction of a man when a woman cheats versus the reaction of a woman when a man cheats, and why there is this double standard. So let's talk about that, sister. Let's talk about, first of all, the woman, our reactions to men cheating. What have we observed? What do we?
We have observed that oftentimes women are forgiving. I think it's the thing again, that's the feeling like they can change and they can be better. And some men have changed. That it's the men that made the mistake and, you know, never did it again. But I think oftentimes we are the more forgiving. We believe in forgiving a man when he has cheated. Things about, you know, how much we've invested, how long we've been together, you know, what if the good outweighs the bad. These are oftentimes like so many things. We think about the kids. We really think about so many things that goes into what happens if we decide to go ahead and leave, you know, not just how we feeling or making a quick move. So I think oftentimes most of us see women will take men back. And I honestly don't know in that regard what I would do in a situation, because I haven't, to my knowledge, been in that situation before. But yeah, I think women are very open to giving a man a second chance. Sometimes a
Mm-hmm.
second chance, a third chance, and more.
Well, I think that goes back to the, classic. I mean, I'm sure everybody has seen this movie, Baby Boy. Yvette, Jody. Here we are. This man could cheat 1,000 times and the woman forgives him. And
Mm-hmm.
then the woman decides to cheat just one time. And he about ready to fall out in the street like he been whooped over the head, drugged down hot coals, had his bank account robbed, naked and blind. And he over there plumpy emotional. And I reason this point as thinking that women are more emotional, but we are also more calculated. If we decide
Mm-hmm.
to cheat, it's because we've already cheated emotionally or mentally before we get to the
Yeah, I
physical
believe
act.
that. I believe that.
But whereas men, I think men sometimes just act out of opportunity, out of reaction. And that's just my observation. At this point, I'm saying I think the reason why the standard of reaction is different is because a man will just take advantage of a situation for the moment. He thinks of it in temporary terms.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like you said, with the woman, we calculated this thing out. Oh, if I'm gonna start seeing, X, Y, Z, D, and B, I have already thought about the consequences of how
Right,
this
right,
could
right, right.
actually happen. And men
Mm-hmm.
know it. Men know that women are better at cheating than they are. Whether they want to acknowledge it publicly, with their homeboys, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that I condone the behavior either way because I do not. I think if you are unhappy or whatever the case may be, you have to analyze that for your own personal situation. But what I will say is women are so much more invested when it comes to cheating because we've made some type of an emotional or mental investment in the person before we do the physical act. Now, along those same lines, what do you think, sister, about us leveling the playing field? Because there are women out here who will disagree and say, "Oh no, I will go out here and I'll cheat just for the moment. He ain't mean nothing but 2 bags and a pair of Manolos." Then what?
Well, look. Well, this is my whole problem with the double standard, right? My problem is that men will expect that they can cheat 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times and feel as though you should forgive them. You cheat on them
Mhm.
one time and they feel like, oh no, that's it. And in my mind, I feel like they try to justify the fact that they're gonna leave as if it's not the same because in their mind they believe that women are emotional. And like you said,
Mhm.
sometimes they may have just did it for the moment and they kind of wasn't thinking about it. It was just like an
Mhm.
opportunity made, but that
Mhm.
presenting itself. But that's my problem. That's the double
Mhm.
standard right there. Because how do
Mhm.
you do something, but you justify it and feel as though if somebody else does it, whatever the reason be, the reason on why it was done. If you cheated and I cheated, that is
Mhm.
equal. In my mind, it's equal.
Somebody
Enough
said
is
men
enough.
are
I'm
afraid.
out.
Somebody said men are afraid too because they can't figure out when a woman is cheating, and that's so true. A woman can lay right beside you. You ain't had no clue that
Listen,
she's there with Charlie Brown
nothing.
down the street, and you sitting up there looking like wonk 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 at dinner. No, they ain't
But
had no
my
clue.
problem with that is, yeah, my problem with that is I just think that they cannot grasp it. They are so hurt on another level because in their mind they feel like we did this because we was emotional. And they feel
And
like we
Nikki
did this
Blue.
because wait. They will be more concerned if they felt like we did this because we were missing something from them than actually being about the fact that maybe you should have changed these things. Because most of us
And
women, the things that we feel like we are missing, we have let them know. I feel like we
uh-huh.
really tell them like, hey, this
Hmm.
is what I think you guys need to
Double.
go ahead and do.
It
I feel
said
like these are areas
devils and
nice,
y'all
you.
think that's cute. It's not. No, no. And let me say, Nikki Blue, thanks for your comment out there. She brought out that they cannot face the embarrassment of which they put us through, which is very true. It's
Yes.
not that we think it's cute, but I think what ends up happening is just as you guys, or let me say, just as men begin to justify their behaviors as to why
Mm-hmm.
they've done it for the thousandth time, we as women sometimes decide, well, I'm justified in my actions because I've forgiven you
Right.
101 Dalmatian times and you up here
Mm-hmm.
still doing it. How you taking my forgiveness for weakness is pretty much what's happening. Don't be
Wait,
like me, be
somebody said,
yourself.
don't leave, leave me if you think you need some get back. But look, I think that's what men can't handle either, because a lot of times there might be women who feel like, you know what, he cheated on me, so I'm gonna get back. And I want to be clear about this, you guys. We are not condoning cheating. We are not
That's
saying
right.
that cheating is
That's
okay. That
right.
is not what
That's
we're
right.
doing here saying. We're saying do not do something that you cannot take if somebody does to you.
Mhm.
Because women are out here, they are moving differently. Some women are not emotional, okay?
Uh-huh.
They cheated
Mhm.
because they had the
Hold on. We
opportunity.
had two guys come in and say, I think one guy said, yeah, men feel more hurt. He said, yeah, men feel more hurt. I've seen this with my own eyes. We had another gentleman say men actually pay attention to their woman, know when their woman is watch the movie unfaithful. That's cheating. You guys, it is so true. I think that's a valid point. Thank you for shouting that out. If you really are attentive to how your woman is moving, if you are really paying attention to her, not only just in the physical, but if you're paying attention to how she making moves, be it, her appearance, how she's speaking, her affection to you, all these things, all those are indicators that something is off. And especially when it comes to the bedroom game, you start seeing her do new tricks. That should be the number one thing right there. Oh, you ain't never did that with me. Where that come from? Where did
She
you
was
learn
real
that?
comfortable. She was real comfortable with it. She knew what she was doing, like she did it before, right? But I think women in these aspects too, it's like sometimes men don't account for the fact how much they have embarrassed us. And I think what they think in their mind is that and it's said to so many of us, and I think it's passed down, and men just say it, well, men cheat. Men are
Mhm.
gonna cheat.
Mhm.
Like, this is just like what you need to expect. So just understand, if you get a man, he probably gonna cheat on you, but you should be okay with that, because that is what men do.
That's
That's
right.
who we
That's right.
are. We're not meant to be
That's
tied
right.
down. And so for me, I always think, why cheat? If
We
you
sorry,
feel as though
G.
you want to be with somebody else, be with, like, just be single. I never
That's right.
understand it. Be
That's right.
single.
And
Be single, because then you don't
I
have to
think
worry about hurting anybody's feelings, because you don't owe anybody anything.
I think when we look along those same lines, the guy said we sorry,
Yeah, we
G.
sorry.
No, but the problem is the actions speak louder than words. You say you're sorry, but you still keep doing these same things. And I think because this is the year of the feminists, and we
Mm-hmm.
are taking back everything. We like, okay, we are not being subservient to these standards anymore. Women are out here for real with they spend the night bag. Oh well, I'm gonna go over here to see Tom because Perry, you ain't acting right. And then I come back over to Perry, and he won't know the difference, no way, because my complaint is he ain't paying me no attention anyway. Not realizing that Perry should recognize when his girl going with the spend the night bag. He texts him and he can't get through, or he calling and she's sending him straight voicemail. And she ain't never did these things before. Those are strong indicators. And again, I think as women, we honestly have to own some of that double standard, because if we chopped them
Right.
in the beginning, the first time they did it, just like the post I posted today, we about Future saying if she catch me cheating, then I can't trust her no more. And people are out here condoning that. Well, how can't you trust me when you the one who being unfaithful? But this again is that standard. I can do it, but you better not dare do it. So I'm a
Right.
man, girl. I'm a man. You need to understand that there's too many women out here. I can't control myself. I'm like a kid and kid stuff. Why can't I have some of her and him and them? You know what I'm saying? But then
Wait. Somebody said when she buying panties
at the
at Rite Aid, like it's like Easter from Insecure. Whoa.
Let
Wow.
me tell you something. All jokes aside, though, people, this is again, not for us saying we condone or that we condemn anybody, because everybody's free to do what they want to do. What we're
Right.
simply saying is that this double standard exists, and the point that I was going to make is simply we could kill this double standard if we as women started making consequences for the actions of which men do. If we started holding men accountable when they cheat, they would not feel as comfortable to keep thinking that we're going to keep, on the forgiveness train with them over and over again. Now, granted, you might have somebody who cheats one time, and you can get through that. You go to counseling, y'all talk through it, y'all get to the root of the problem, because sometimes that's what it is. It's a problem that's causing you to look somewhere else. But if you continuously keep slapping me in the face, I can't keep turning the cheek. If you keep going to, smash Tiffany down the street, and I done forgiven you once already for smashing Tiffany, and then you keep smashing Tiffany, talking about, oh, well, I'm just getting weak. Well, guess what? Then Tommy, he been fine anyway. He been in the gym, he looking swole. He oiled up good, water in the grass, and I've just been holding back from not talking to him. We can play this game, She said, laugh out loud, not all men are like that. This sounds like, that sounds about right. They want their cake and eat it too. Women are way better at cheating than men, hands down. But we shouldn't be. That's what I'm saying. That's the point we're trying to make. We should not be so good at this art, and men should not be so comfortable with doing it. So that is the point we were making.
Is that do not do things in which you cannot receive,
Handle. Yeah.
Men should not be cheating and women should not be cheating. If you're in a relationship and you're with that person and you saying that you want to be monogamous, then that's what you guys should be.
Right.
But it's understanding that you cannot do something in life and feel as though the other person cannot do it too. It's making sure that you understand that this could happen and what will you do in that situation, because sometimes I think people don't recognize that the pain that they cause a person, the same way a man may feel regardless of what they think, if it's emotional or whatever, that a woman cheats. Women have to really take this, and that's painful. We have to sit with these things and still live our lives and be forgiving and all these different things. And that's hard. I think they don't think the same way that they felt like they've done that to us sometimes, and not recognizing that sometimes you did it more and more and more to the point that sometimes we can feel as though we're stupid. Like, why am I in this situation? Or maybe feel like we've been in this situation for so long at the end, that we've been together for so long, it's not even a reason why I should leave. And so what I don't want to do is say that we're condoning cheating. What we're saying is there are double standards. And honestly, there are things that women do also to men that I think we have to take into account and ownership that we do as well. So I got another one.
A good example of that is the hitting. Why is it okay for a woman to hit a man and expect that man to sit up and let her hit him? But the minute he hit her back, she wrong. No, baby girl, because my daddy used to say to me, if you are woman enough to hit him, then you better be woman enough to receive the response. And these new generation men are something. They'll pop
they
you
will
on good.
knock your head off.
They'll spin that joker.
Listen, I think too, for me, that's what I think women don't recognize. And I've always told myself at the end of the day, I don't put my hands on anybody, because honestly, I don't want nobody putting their hands on me. And so these are things that we have to take into account. But I think it's more so than honestly just even being women do these things and men are held accountable. I think sometimes we don't even recognize, like, I've had situations that I've heard from friends and different people that a man will call the police on a woman for hitting him and he end up in jail. Nah, I don't understand. I think this is kind of what society has grown to feel like in situations, or we laugh about it, we joke and we say it's funny when men are really being hit in these situations. And I think it doesn't make any sense to me that women can feel like this is okay. I mean, I think we have to start holding ourselves accountable, because at the same time,
I think
if they hit you back, can you really be mad if you hit them first?
Facts. Well, even if you didn't hit them first, I mean, the fact is, Olin Gamble brought up a really good point about deal breakers. I think if we, establish that up front, it's a deal breaker for you to cheat on me. It's a deal breaker for you to hit me. Then you would not have to. Terry fights for me. It is a deal breaker that you establish up front. Then you don't have to worry about them concerns, and they completely understand from the beginning. If you cross this line, it's like drawing the line in the sand. If you draw the
Right.
line in the sand, whatever it may be, and you decide that you're going to be a habitual line stepper, then understand when you cross that line, there are consequences. And if we, that's what, from the very beginning, if we don't start implementing consequences, people will never stop the toxic behavior. If we
Right.
as women decided that I don't care if I've been with you 30 years, if you cheat and I know that that's a problem for me and I've already forgiven you for it, and you do it again, then they need to know there is a consequence. And you need to
Right.
understand, despite whatever pain you're going to feel, you need to stand up and enforce that consequence. Otherwise, you're going to continue to be in this never-ending cycle. And so
Right.
I think, this is a perfect time to introduce our story of the week, you guys.
Go ahead and introduce it.
Okay, so here's for the people. We need you guys to tell us what you think about this scenario. And this is a true story, true story. There was this man who was with this woman in total of 15 years. And in the 15 years, year 13, he decided to marry her. But during the course of their relationship, he cheated an innumerable amount of time. I mean, you just lost count how many times he cheated. And just for a little context on the situation, I was a friend to both of these people. So, in watching this develop, the girl wanted a baby. And they just could not get the baby together. She kept miscarrying. Long story short, he cheated this final time and got someone else pregnant. And so, right. So year 13, he decides he's going to marry her. Now here he is now marrying her with a baby from a entanglement that he had with somebody else. Year 14, her and I take this trip to Richmond. And she tells me I'm going to make him pay in a way that he never could imagine. Year 15, she has now ran through everybody in his squad, all his friends she slept with. She slept with every one of them in his squad. And then, to add insult to injury, she goes and sleeps with his arch nemesis. So, she hosts a family dinner, and at this family dinner, to hurt him in the most unimaginable way, she unveils to him that she's been sleeping with the arch nemesis. Meanwhile, you guys, the arch nemesis is sitting at the table when she says this. You guys, I can't even describe the chaos that happened. He flipped the table. It was something like a horror movie. I was crawling on the floor trying to get out of there. I was trying to hurry up and get to the door. They had this key in the door that you had to turn before you could open it and get out, right? I couldn't get out. He was standing over me. Did you know about this? And long story short, she divorced him. But before she divorced him, he ended up in the crazy house. 30 days, couldn't get it together on suicide watch. She divorced him and ended up marrying the arch nemesis. And from what I understand, up until about a few years ago, they were still together, very happy. What would you guys do in this situation? Was she justified in her actions? What about his reaction? I mean, suicide. I mean, what do you guys think? What do we think?
Well, why do people
said
are
13 years. Somebody said 13 years. That's a long time before being married. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? Because I talked to my therapist, and she honestly told me that a lot of times when men cheat, she said they really have, like when women cheat on a man, they have to put them on like a suicide watch. She said it's so common that it really happens among a lot of men that they end up on suicide watch when, the person that they're with cheat.
Wow.
All right, people, what y'all think? Do y'all think she was right? Do y'all think she was wrong? Do y'all feel like she should have been left? Because in my mind, 13 years, no marriage, gotta go.
What about did he get what he deserved? I mean, at the end of the day, not only was she justified, but did he get what he deserved as a result of all these years? Because again, she should have walked away after year 5.
No, I had to go before 5, but
I'm thinking the same thing.
I don't know. I'm low on empathy right now.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she felt like she had to add up to the times that he cheated. So maybe he cheated 5 times. She slept with all the friends. That might have been 5 men. So now she felt like maybe they even. I mean,
But what?
In
Wait
her
a
mind,
minute.
maybe she
Let me
thought it
say
was okay.
this.
I would have left,
Let me
yeah.
say this. As a friend, because that was the thing. The guy approached me very angrily because he felt as if, as his friend, I should have let him know. But as her friend, I knew that he was doing all these things as well, and I didn't say
Right.
anything to her. So I feel like there was this mismatched loyalty that he felt I should have, and for the sake of my own safety, because he was psychotic, I
I would
kept
have said,
myself
I didn't
neutral.
know. I didn't know. Someone said, I'll go to the store to get some empathy later. Two wrongs don't make it right. She should have just left. I think so too, because honestly, to be that calculated and to just really get that pain, that much
Yeah,
pain,
yeah,
to really do all those actions, it's just that I'm
yeah.
not a spiteful person like that. So for me, I'm just
Right,
gonna go because I don't have the energy to put in all those
right.
years more to even get back at you. Because you said 14th year she decided she was gonna get back. 15th year now she done kind of got back. Like it's just messed up. She's justified, but
Thoroughly.
she had a way too much time on her hands. She honestly could have healed and moved on. Past 4 years was the cue to go. Right. I
Yeah.
think she could have been moved on, found somebody to be with. She could have maybe had a baby, anything in that time in which she stayed to be calculated to think. So, I mean, I think that was just
I
a
don't know.
toxic
I will say
situation.
this.
And her actions was,
I will
I
say
don't
this.
know.
The old me, the petty me, could understand why she did that. You know, petty T, understand why she did that. Mature
Wait.
me could. I'm so toxic. I'm
I'm
over
so
here
toxic.
smiling
I'm
and
over here
feeling.
smiling and feeling not toxic.
Like I said, the petty me would agree that her action was justified. The old me. Now the new me, the grown up me,
Ooh.
really taking into account, what and knowing more about, how much she suffered as a result. I think is what allows me to really analyze that. Like you guys said, she could have left. I mean, in their first couple years alone, I mean, he probably cheated way more than, the average man would cheat in a lifetime. So it sounds like they both have mental issues. But
Wait,
at the
somebody
end,
said that he know that he could have been left her. He should have stopped wasting her time. She was just a placeholder. Ooh,
yep,
until he found
placeholder.
what he was looking for.
Yeah,
Or till she
yeah.
found it, because clearly she held the place for him until she found one of the friends or the enemy that she
But
felt
look,
like
what
she
about
could now be
that?
with.
But what about that? The friends. How trifling. I mean, this should make you do inventory of your friends. If all your friends slept with your wife, what does that say
They
about the kind
wanted
of
her
people
from
your
the start.
vibe?
Yeah, they might have
Yeah,
wanted her from
like,
the start. They was plotting. I
yeah,
think they was
yeah.
plotting a little
So,
bit. I mean, yeah, there's so many issues in that. It sounds like he married her because of the baby outside the relationship, I think. And maybe he felt like in order to marry her, when him doing that last blow of having that baby, then now the marriage might keep her. When he
but
should
you
have let
know
her go
what?
too.
But the problem with that is this is a classic case of, the baggage. You done brought another
Yeah.
bag into our relationship for me to carry at this point. When if what you really wanted to begin with was to still play around, I think it gets back to the point. You should not have been in a relationship to begin with. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. If we are upfront with people and we just tell them from the beginning, look, I ain't ready to settle down. There are men out here and women who are doing this alike. Then this eliminates that whole double standard because everybody's clear up front. We don't have no obligations. We don't have no entanglements. And then I don't have to have no estranglement. That's it. That's that.
Yeah. Well, somebody said he lost his wife and his fake friends all at once. That boy was hurt. So that's probably why he ended up on suicide watch, honestly. And it might have
And
been
let me
too
be
much.
clear. Let me be clear. I'm not laughing because
Not at
suicide is
suicide.
so
Not at
serious.
all.
It
Not
is
at
so
all.
serious. But it goes back to the point of how men will react differently when when a woman does to them what they have done to a woman for so long. And it's so
Right.
serious. It's such a problem. It is really an epidemic out here. But I think at the end of the day, if we want to see change, we have to be the force for change. And let me say too, this is a two-way street because there
Right.
are some men out here who have taken back women who have cheated on them 100,000 times, and you
Definitely.
be like,
Had babies and they raised them,
yeah,
everything. So I think, we
stranglement.
focus more so on, you know, in this idea of, in this scenario, it being men, but oftentimes
It's women too.
we do it too. Yeah, we do it too. Honestly, we do.
Well, guys, we thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Too Fast, Too Feminine. Next week, we have another series, Double Standards Part 2. We thank you so much for the support and love. Guys, this is a new project for us. But we want you guys to tell us things that y'all want to hear us talk about, men and women. And we are
Definitely.
open to talking about us. We do the research, we do the homework. We definitely try to get you guys, comments and incorporate them into it because we do this for you guys. So thank you so much. We love you. And we're out.
Thanks.
Hey. Out.